Okay, so this is a 1981 Honda Express. I've done a lot of modifying to it. It's actually a Honda Express frame with an Urban Express motor. Um, it's a Puch Maxi front end. I had to cut the stem down to make it all work. A 78 Enduro tank. Um, and then this is an MLMC pan. I mean, when you get to detail, my fabrication work isn't perfect. Um, but it's an old bike. I don't really think it needs to be perfect. Um, when you're going down the street on this thing, everybody's fucking looking at you. It's it's fun, man. Um, so really, all I did was weld it in a crossbar. Um, I went through multiple tanks trying to figure out one that would work. I ended up welding in this hole here to kind of cover it up and make it look more streamlined. Welded up a little bracket for the temp gauge. The clip-ons. I got 3-inch or 2.5 on the front and a 3-inch wheel in the back. I did the 16 to skip all the frame stuff. I got the air shock. That's pretty much it for the frame stuff. For the motor, I did the 16-inch conversion on the back. You just take a stock Honda Express hub. Then you find any 16-inch rear or 16-inch rim, and you can lace that to the hub of a Honda Express. To get that 16-inch and 16-inch in the front and 16-inch in the back to kind of level it all out. I don't really notice anything as far as top speed or anything like that. I think it just looks better. I think it cost me like $30. I brought the rim completely unbuilt, just the rim, the spokes, and the hub, and I brought it to a bike shop with the axle, the drive axle, and they laced it up and built it for me for $30. It was super cheap. I have the Molosi racing gears in here, the GY6 clutch with the 1500 RPM Contra and the 1500 RPM clutch springs. I have a Vespa variator in it, the BX31 belt. I have the Dio block, the V-Force 8-pedal reed block, Dio intake. Right now I have an Oko on it. I used it all last year and I didn't have any issues with it. But ever since I built this bike, I've been having issues with the carb, tuning it. And the Okos just really seem to be a huge pain in the ass to tune. So what I'm going to end up doing is I already ordered it. I got a Mikuni 24 coming in, flat slide. And I think that's going to solve my issues. I have it a velocity stack on it right now. And I live in a really nice neighborhood and it's louder than hell. So I think I'm going to tune it around a filter, just to kind of tone it down a little bit so I can actually tune a bike in my neighborhood without my neighbors getting pissed off. As you can tell from the startup video, it's louder than shit. And I kind of live in a valley and everything echoes. And it's louder than hell. It has the 70cc DR, then the Puch head. It's just really, really crammed in there, It's the extra finnage definitely helps with keeping the motor cool. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get that carb in on Thursday, I believe, before the Chicago's Hot and Ready's rally, because I really want to take this to that. I think that this is definitely a head turner, and um, people will dig this bike. It's fast as fuck. Uh, it's definitely not a daily driver. Um, I was having problems with it seizing at really low temps. So what I ended up doing was fabbing up a leak down tester, like so, and I did a leak down test on it. This is for the intake. Take off the carb, put this on there. You put about 5 pounds of air into it, and then see where it's leaking down. If you're losing air instantly, then you know you have a leak. And then what you'll go around and do is put air into it, keep steady air in it, no more than 5 pounds, and squirt soapy water all over it. And right away, I automatically assumed that it was the crank seals, or one of the crank seals. And that's exactly what it ended up being. It was seizing at like right around like 2:30. It would be ripping, you'd be riding it fine, nothing would be going wrong, and all of a sudden it would just seize out of nowhere. And this happened after maybe about 200 miles of riding it. And then what it ended up being was the crank seal, and it wasn't even the crank seal itself. I actually bought a new crank seal, put it in. After going around, you fill it up with air, and then you go around and you squirt it with soapy water, and then the soapy water will start to bubble up, and that's when you know that you'll have an air leak there. But that's what I found on my crank seal on the variator side, and what I noticed was that the leak would move when I would turn the crank. The leak would move with the crank. And so what I realized is that there was a little tiny scratch on the crank right where that seal was. And that's what was causing it to leak, which kind of blew me away. I didn't think that a little tiny scratch like that would leak. But you learn something new every day. So what I ended up doing was I found a buddy of mine here in Green Bay had another motor, urban motor, that he was selling, $50. I bought the motor, really hooked it up, swapped everything over that I have, back over to the new motor that I have, and so this is where we're at. I'm waiting on that carb. I rode it around a little bit with the carb, but when I had tuned the carb, I tuned it all around that air leak, and now there's no air leak. But now my tuning's all off. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm just gonna switch to a Mikuni. I feel I have a Mikuni on my Pook, and the Pook it's really easy to tune, and I just found it a lot easier than this Oko. This is the second Oko I've had, and every time I've gotten them, I've always had issues with them. So I'm gonna switch to Mikuni. I'm gonna get that Mikuni 24 on there, and I think that's gonna solve my issues. I also have the exhaust on it. I forget what the name of the exhaust is. Completely slips my mind. I don't remember what the hell it's called. It's for a Hobbit though. It's a fast bike. It's fun as hell to ride, like I said. So yeah, that's the Honda Express, the Frankenstein bike. It's definitely one of the hardest bikes I ever built. But I'm hoping that, like I said, this carb is gonna solve all the issues, and we'll be able to rip her around more and show her off, and really show that mopeds can be fun bikes too. Because you get a lot of hate on them sometimes, from the moped groups, that it's not technically a moped, it's a noped. So we'll see if she gets ripping. As soon as I get that carb, I think I'm gonna make a video about that as well, kind of show you guys the entire process of putting it on and tuning it. think that might be helpful for some of you. But yeah, until next time, guys.